Hey guys, what is up? Chris here with Coastal Friendship Unit. Just me today. Guys, we have been having a little trouble completing Risk of Rain on hard difficulty lately. And we've noticed it's 100% due to the appearance of these Malachite enemies. And we're going to be talking about what they are, exactly what they do, why what they do is a bad thing, and I have some tips and kind of a mini guide on the best practices to not die from them, and then some ideas for killing them, because at the end of the day, they're just hard to kill. There's no way around it. And let me know down in the comments below if you guys found any lore on the Malachites, because nothing was really coming up on Google. I didn't read all the log stuff yet, but I'm sure it's in there somewhere. So yeah, let me know down below. So what is a Malachite enemy? A Malachite enemy is a special type of elite enemy that shows up pretty late in the game. I rarely ever find Malachites before round 5. So when I say late in the game, I mean you're more than halfway to the point of being able to self-destruct yourself at the end. So Malachite, what makes them kind of dangerous is they have 28.2 times the health, which is insane when you think about it, and they have 6 times the damage output. And this doesn't seem like that much because you think about it, oh, you know, like little lesser wisp, who cares if they have 28.2 times the health and 6 times the damage? But let's actually do a quick little math test on just what the implications are. Every enemy in the game can become a Malachite, including something as small as a lesser wisp and going up to something as big as a stone golem. And you know that you have a Malachite because, well, we'll talk about it in a second, but again, math time with the lesser wisp. So a wisp does 4 damage plus 0.8 per level. And I'm going to assume that we see our first Malachite lesser wisp at level 5 because that's when I start to see them. So we'll take that 5 times stage times the 0.8. We'll get an extra 4 damage. All right, so now we're only doing 8 damage. That's like a normal lesser wisp at level 5. Not a big deal. Multiply that by 6, that's 48 damage. And you're thinking, well, you know, I play as Malti, I have 1,000 health, that means nothing. Okay, let's take another example. Stone Golem, 20 damage, plus 4 per level. If you, again, go to stage 5, that gives them a 20 damage bonus, so you're up to 40 damage. 40 damage times the 6 multiplier for the Malachite is 240 damage. That just took out a quarter of your health, and in stage 5, there's going to be a lot of enemies around. Now, that doesn't sound too bad still, but here's the deal. You cannot heal for 8 seconds after you've been hit by a Malachite enemy, and you're thinking, okay, I'll just avoid the Malachite enemy. Well, Malachite enemies shoot out 3 to 4 spike balls at a time. If you happen to touch any of those spike balls, the same effect will happen. Damage and healing is gone. So that's where the problem comes, guys. You are having a great time playing some Risk of Rain. All of a sudden, some little lesser wisp that's a Malachite that you usually just take the hits and don't even think twice. Little lesser wisp nicks you, does that little 48 damage. You don't even think twice about it, but your healing's gone. So then someone out of nowhere, like even an elite stone golem, just pounds you. You're dust. That's the issue here. You know when a Malachite shows up because, again, those spike balls, and it makes this really ominous sound. It's like, oh, I'll play it. And that's kind of how you know they're there. And once you kind of hit them, you'll see that little green icon on their health bar, so you'll know exactly what you're going for. And once you've killed one of these 28.2 times health enemies, you're not done. It spawns a Malachite urchin, which is going to continue shooting spikes after it expires. So don't, go running in there as mercenary, slashing it up, killing it, and thinking you're all good once he's dead, because that urchin's going to spawn. It's going to be shooting spikes fast at you. You're going to take damage, and you're going to die. So now I have to deal with these awful, awful enemies. But before we deal with them, guys, we're so close to 1,000 subs. Your support via subscription would be super much appreciated. A like would also be awesome if you guys learned anything from this video. And we're giving away a copy of Conan Exiles on Steam at 1,000 subs. All you got to do is be subscribed. We would appreciate your support. All right, how are we going to kill these Malachite enemies, and how are we going to stay alive from the Malachites? Let's start with staying alive. Well, I feel like pre-Scorched Acres, it was all the rage to have insane healing. You would get your engineer out with his, 6 fussling bunguses, huge healing range, almost unlimited healing. You'd be good to go. You just chill with your boys in that healing range. Everything would be fine. That is not going to cut it anymore. Damage protection is the new healing in Scorched Acres. What I mean by that is you want to either block damage entirely or build up some kind of a barrier that will prevent you from taking damage. Because in that case, your inability to heal isn't going to matter as much. So if you get hit by a Malachite enemy and you can no longer heal, but you have enough damage protection to avoid taking more damage, your inability to heal for 8 seconds isn't going to matter nearly as much. Also, if you have a reduced chance of taking damage at all, the Malachite is going to have a lower chance at being able to actually hit you. So, items recommended, Tougher Times. That's probably one of the best items you can get currently right now, just because it is common and it stacks fairly well, and it gives you a chance to not take any damage. So you can just not be damaged when you get hit. Tougher Times, it's that little teddy bear. Next is Topaz Brooch. This is new to Scorched Acres. It allows you to make a barrier when you get a kill. This is, I would say, not as good as Tougher Times because you have to be constantly killing things. But again, later down the line, that might not be as big of an issue, especially if you're someone like the Huntress who can just have damage being done while you're doing other things. But Topaz Brooch, extremely good. And the last is Aegis, which is not that great when you compare it to Tougher Times, considering how rare it is to get, but it's better than nothing. Pick up Aegis. And when you're fighting these enemies, if you know someone on your team has more damage protection than they do healing, maybe send them after the Malachite. Like, maybe don't send your engineer that only has been getting all the bustling funguses for the group. Let him hang back, take care of other stuff. Let your guy with the damage protection go out there and specifically target the Malachite. Speaking of targeting the Malachite, how are we going to target the Malachite? Well, first option is kind of cheeky. It's situational, again, by enemy and even then by stage. And that is throwing them off the edge of the stage. Certain moves have a push box, like Rex's Shift, which can actually push enemies off the map. This means you can push a Malachite enemy off the map and not have to worry about it. That's really nice. Unfortunately, like I said, circumstantial, not guaranteed to get that by any means. So what should you do? Give them space. Give them much more range than usual because of their spike balls that they shoot. Those Malachite balls that will destroy your healing. If you look at a Malachite Lemurian, he has as much range as any other Malachite enemy in terms of those spike balls going out. So just give them much more space than you'd want. And the next best piece of advice I have is to try to isolate them. And this is obviously a lot easier than it sounds, especially in later rounds when stuff is just getting absolutely ridiculous. This usually a single hit is not what kills you from a Malachite enemy, but rather the damage you incurred with no healing after that big hit. Again, this is why damage protection is so important. So strike when you have an opening, but do it from a distance. Basically, if you can isolate the enemy from the group, that's your time to strike. The other thing I'll say is concerning the teleporter. Try to charge that teleporter. I know things get crazy, but try to charge the teleporter as fast as you can, because charging the teleporter is going to prevent more enemies from spawning. And once enemies aren't spawning, that's when you can kind of slowly isolate or just destroy the enemies in the game before dealing with the Malachite. Because sometimes when the Malachite's mixed in with all the enemies, like I said, that's when you die. It's when you get nicked by the lesser wisp Malachite and don't realize that you don't have healing, and then just get absolutely obliterated. So, in summary, guys, Malachites are very hard to kill. You should focus on damage protection when prioritizing Malachites over healing. I'm not saying healing is bad by any means, but focus on damage protection when you can, and then try to charge that teleporter or isolate them. Give them space and take your time. 28.2 times the health. That is basically 30 times the health. Don't get frustrated. Be patient. You'll do great. But that is all for me, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments, what your history has been with the Malachites. Maybe the September update will be kind to us. Maybe it will be a little bit more brutal with us. That's all for me, guys. I will catch you next time.